Hello, Fearless Gamers, and welcome to another podcast here on Fearless Games. I'm Matt the Vet, and today I'm joined by...
James the Wildcard.
And no one else.
Yeah.
As some people may watch in some of the more recent videos that we'll probably be posting at the same time as this, the Stark isn't feeling well.
Can I just say, the Stark Lord sounds so much better than the Stark. It really does. Like, it just seems lacking so much without the Lord at the end of it.
He seems to be like flip-floppity because, like, because we were doing some videos and we weren't calling him the Stark, and he's like, "Do you care?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Well, yeah, that's because he was drunk. So.
Yeah, yes, he was.
But yeah, and, no, just had to put that out there.
and yeah.
Yeah.
So, how are things?
Good. Now I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
You know,
I didn't bring my number 2 pencil.
Yes. You know, on the internet they have those pictures, and they usually have like a funny phrase on it with the picture. What would you call that?
A meme?
Thank you. When I was in Pennsylvania, everybody called it a meme. I came down here to North Carolina, and they call it memes. And when somebody first said a meme, I'm like, what the heck are you talking about?
What?
Yeah, they call it memes.
Meme?
Yeah, instead of meme. I don't know if both are technically correct or not, but because somebody was talking, and was like, yeah, there was this cool internet meme. I went, a what? I'm like, oh, a meme. And he's like, yeah, a meme. I'm like, okay, all right, we'll go with that. And it's not just like one person. It seems to be like a southern thing. Like, it seems like North Carolina and below call it memes. And I was so confused.
You know what it is because they remind them of Beaker.
Fair enough. Beaker was pretty cool, but it was just...
Beaker was awesome.
So, Fearless Gamers, meme or meme, what do you say? The correct answer is meme, but what do you say? Just meme sounds so weird, and it seems like it takes like a fraction of a second longer to say than meme. And it's just like, why? I get it, but it's just, what? So
okay.
I was just so, that's why I wanted to double check to make sure I wasn't going crazy by asking what you would call it. And what I call it is a meme. So yeah. I don't know where meme comes from, but alright.
I don't know. Anyone who knows, let us know.
Yes.
Let us know. So we can't hide it anymore.
That's true.
So the Sanctus Reach Stormclaw thing came out.
Yes, and it's way cooler than I thought it would be, to be honest.
The only thing that I'm a little, like, meh about is that they just took... The only thing new in it is the 2 special characters.
Right, but at the same time, while it is kind of blah because it's not something cool, because it would have been snap fit anyway, which would have looked cool and different.
Well, it would have been nice to new molds, you know. That's what
But, I mean, at the same time, you're getting one heck of a deal for full-on kits.
Yeah, from what I've been told, some rumor I heard, I don't know how true it is, some rumors told me that it's not the full kit.
But, like, you're getting, even if it's not, like, the full, all the bits, what you're getting is posable. Yeah. And easily interchangeable with bits you may already have. And for the price point, it's very good, because the Wolf Guard Terminators are, like, $50. The 3 kilocans are $47. Right there, you're over half, way over half of what it costs. And what would you say, like 2 new special character, even though the snap fit models it cost, maybe $10, $15 a pop?
Well, nah. Going off of recent snap fit HQs and such, they'd be $30 a pop.
Well, I was being low. I was saying.
Well, I'm going off of the Librarian, the Farseer, all the other snap fits that you can just go and buy. They're roughly $30 a pop.
I was just being conservative on my estimate. If we're going to say 30, let's just go with 25 and break the difference. That's $50 for those 2 if you're going to go with the current price point, plus 50 for the Terminators. That's $100 right there. And then you have 47 for kilocans. You're already over the price of the kit. Yeah. Of the thing. I mean,
and you get the mini rulebook.
Yeah, which is cool. I can see why people maybe kind of thought this would be like a pseudo starter set. It's not, but
yes. From recent words we've heard that Dark Vengeance is coming back. They're just, right now, there's some dude with a box of rulebooks opening up every box and going, there's one, there's one, there's one.
And really,
and then there's another dude shrink-wrapping them.
And in all honesty, I didn't think that Dark Vengeance would go away. I mean, yes, the website still has a Dark Vengeance section, which somebody could say they could easily just rewrite the website to get rid of it, but I had I
didn't think it was going away.
No, I didn't think it was going away. And also, just while this 7th edition, whatever you want to call it, came out kind of quick out of nowhere, usually starter sets kind of have a shelf life of more than that.
Yeah.
So.
And, excuse me. The rumor is right now is that, that Stormclaw is just the beginning, and that in 7th edition, this, living campaign is going to be, or living to a degree campaign thing is going to be going on, whereas in now every 2 codexes is going to have some sort of box sets thing going on with it.
See, that's cool. You know, the idea of a living-ish campaign thing, I like. You know, a couple codices, you get a box set or something that includes it. It's nice. If you don't play Orks, but you play Space Wolves or vice versa, you can go halvesies with somebody. Maybe you pay a little bit more because you want the mini rulebook, or they pay a little bit more for the mini rulebook, which makes it an even better deal. And then whatever happens in the future. And to be honest, the one thing that always annoyed me about 40K, and they got away from it, I would say, the end of 4th, beginning of 5th, but still it was kind of a thing, was we have this timeline, and then it just abruptly, the present is very fluctuating. Like, in certain codices, there's, the 13th Black Crusade, this is the final straw of chaos or whatever, and this is happening now, and other things, it's yeah, well, that happened. Plus, now we're here. And it's okay, because, the 13th, especially considering the 13th Black Crusade had a mini codex called Eye of Terror that happened years ago to conclude the whole thing.
And now it's and now the Chaos Codex implies that it hasn't happened yet.
Right. And it's just it's annoying. I always want it to be, okay, here's the current timeline in 40K, plus we're pushing it forward, because the thing that really bothered me, and I was really happy that the 4th edition Dark Angels Codex fixed it for them at the very least. It's Sergeant Naaman's a special character, but he's dead. And it's what? What's the point?
Same with Eldrad. He was dead, and it actually said in his book, and then he died.
Yeah. So
here's the points for him. Wait, what?
Yeah, right. It's so what timeline am I playing? And then it's just and then then I had Lamartes, and he's kind of not dead, but his model's so much cooler, but I feel his fluff got a little bit lamer, because the whole thing of Lamartes is he didn't overcome the Black Rage necessarily, but he became cognitive again. He became a real boy again. So and now he's just he's close enough to being sane enough to basically be a squad upgrade for a death company. So he's no longer an HQ. I don't know. It just his fluff is okay, but his model is so much better than it was. Oh my God, it's an awesome sculpt. But you have some of these things. Eldrad, Naaman, who's finally gone, thank God. But not only is he gone, he's barely even mentioned in the Codex now.
Yeah, he's people who know who he is are and then there was Naaman, and new guys are who?
Yeah. It's so there was Naaman. He did some stuff and some things on a planet one time. Moving on. It's wait, what?
Naaman. Wasn't he that dude that wasn't in this army?
Yeah, and you know who else I miss? I miss Brother Bethor as an actual character.
I do like that he's still mentioned, but I am saddened that in the Codex, when they show a picture of the Standard Bearer, they don't call him Brother Bethor.
Yeah, and granted, there are other Standard Bearers. He bears the sacred standards. I get that, people of the internet, but it was a named dude who had rules in the past, and it was the one dude where you could call up GW and go, "I'd like Brother Bethor, please," and they knew who you were talking about. Right, because he was sold as Brother Bethor back in the day, and the thing about it is, and that made me kind of hopeful that maybe would have gotten back, is with the generic 40K Space Marine Codex, you have that Telion and Cronus these squad upgrade guys. So I thought, wouldn't it be really cool if the Dark Angels got a standard bearer upgrade character? You can have your standard bearer, and then you have a special upgrade to be Bethor. And then, and I was really hoping they would bring back the sacred standards of, like, devastation, retribution, and vengeance back the way they were. But that was his whole thing. Is he had one of these. He was a cool thing. He wasn't crazily broken as a standard bearer. He basically was a standard bearer.
Standard bearer.
But he had like a little bit special rule, and then he was the guy who carried sacred standards.
Yeah.
And it was just would have been a cool little. Oh, here you go. Because really, when you think about it, we got Asmodai back. Thank God. But you know, I missed Asmodai. We got him back.
Yeah.
But it would have been cool to
rightfully so.
Yeah, it's just we got him back, and not only did we get him back, but we got him. Isn't he a little bit different than he used to be?
He is very different.
In terms of war gear, right? He's very different.
Well, they finally the Blades of Reason's always had a special rule.
Yeah, but he used to have a power sword and a Crozius. Now he doesn't.
He used to have a power sword, the Crozius, and the power sword was the Blades of Reason. The Blades of Reason was a power sword that could re-roll wounds, I think.
Yeah, but now he still has the Blades of Reason.
Yeah, now he has the Blades of Reason as a separate piece, and he had a special rule before. I don't remember because it's been a while since I've looked at the codex.
He still kind of has a similar special rule.
Yeah, where it was every enemy unit within 6 inches of him took a -1 to, or had to take a leadership check because they were scared that they were close to him.
Yeah, he has a similar rule now, which is models that take. I don't know if it's an aura. I don't remember because I haven't looked at this. I don't remember exactly, but basically he has some type of aura thingy, or it's close combat, but they had a -1 leadership because they're so afraid of him. Yeah, and I'm glad he still has that also, because Azadai was when I was getting into the Dark Angels, Azadai was instantly my favorite character because he was just so over the top. Like, he was a chaplain for chaplains, you know, like how they're really dedicated to their duties. He made all the chaplains look derelict of duty. That's how, you know.
They're like, why can't you be more like him?
Yeah, I think he still has that special rule. I don't know. He had something. See, it's weird because they may have made it into a trait that you know, is a thing. So I can't remember exactly if he still has the special rule, but he was fearful. And the thing is, his fluff is that he's super obsessed with his cause.
With his duties. He caused an entire, squad to, stand there for, a month or something because he didn't like what they were talking about.
Yeah, he is really... he is so much in his duty that Azrael has to be like, dude, chill out. All right? Relax. Smile once in a while. What's going on? But, and his new model is so good. I like that they kept... The thing I liked about Azadai is that he doesn't wear a typical skulled helm. It's a black helm in a skullish shape. But, we got him back, and I'm happy about that. But other than that, we really didn't get anybody new. And granted, neither the Space Marine Codex, but, I mean, they have so much stuff. It would have been cool. The one thing I was really hoping they would do when that Codex came out is what they did with the Blood Angels Codex. Is they gave you a special character successor. You have Gabriel Seth, or whatever his name is, of the Flesh Terrors, Chapter Master. Yeah. It would have been really cool to see, the Angels of Vengeance or the Angels of Absolution Chapter Master or something, just to spice it up a little bit, because there's a fair amount of people who play the successor chapters instead of playing Dark Angels.
Chances are they were probably hoping that supplements would catch on a lot better, and they would be able to do a supplement codex for each one.
You see, I'm hoping that supplements, I don't know, I don't have a graph to see how well they're catching on or whatnot, but I think they're onto the right formula now. What they do with the Ork Codex, having a limited edition one have the supplement for Gaskell in there right away with the limited, and then releasing it a little bit later on, but relatively close to release, because if you think about it, if they released they kind of did with Chaos, but if they release a Dark Angel supplement now, I'm not going to say it's a little late in coming, but, you know, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, those guys, you know, people, it's going to be less of a draw, I feel, than when the Codex comes out, or less of, I'm a Dark Angel player, And if they release a supplement, right now I wouldn't care as much, you know. I don't know. I feel like they had a good formula with the Ork Codex, and I hope they continue that trend. But yeah, it's nice to see stuff come back. But the whole timeline thing that we were talking about before, this living campaign thing, I'm hoping it actually drives 40K forward. You know what I mean? Because 40K is kind of like, and then this happened, and this is happening, and this happened, and then we're going to give dates for this, and then 13th Black Crusade may or may not have happened yet, depending upon your codex. So it's like I want it to drive forward because there's stuff like, especially because in 6th edition or even in 5th, they brought about the end times. You know what I mean? Like the supposed prophesized end times of the Imperium and of 40K, where the Necrons are waking up even faster now. The Tyrians are more intrusive. Chaos is more intrusive. The Tower of like really getting to their stride. The Eldar are doing their last ditch effort. The Imperium's getting angrier. But then that was it. They didn't push it forward. It's like, this is the end times. And back to you, Bob. And it's like, oh. It's like, wait, what? So it would be kind of cool. It'll never happen, but what would be really awesome is if at some point the Lion wakes back up. And the only reason I say that is because he's the only confirmed, with the exception of Gilliman, Primarch's still alive. And I say with the exception because that whole Ultramarine Primarch thing is a weird situation.
Yeah.
He's poisoned nearly to death in stasis, yet healing, supposedly, which is awesome. I have no problem with having another Loyalist Primarch, because when you think about it, Magnus the Red's still alive, Angron's still alive, Perturbo's still alive, all of them except Nighthunter is still alive, and
Horse.
And Horse, obviously. And maybe one of the twins of the Alpha Legion. Maybe. That's a lot. And then you look at the Imperial side, and it's like, well, who's left? And nobody. Fantastic. It's just like, so I mean, you never know. Korax may come back.
Yeah.
Vulcan
he disappeared.
Once the Salamanders finish their D&D quest, maybe Vulcan will come back once they collect all the artifacts and whatever. Maybe Goldman will reawaken, and the Lion, especially because they brought it back in the Dark Angels Codex again, because he was Angels of Death, left it out, brought it back. The Lion's sleeping, waiting to wake up, and it's like, well, let's wake him up already. Let's have an awesome campaign. But they don't do that, which is why we have to wait for the Horus Heresy books from Forge World.
Yep.
Speaking of, did you see the Fire Drakes models from Forge World?
They do look really cool.
They're really cool. If you're a Salamander player, stop. If you're painting up Terminator, stop. Just buy the Fire Drakes and just use those for your Terminator needs. Just don't worry about anything else. Just buy the Fire Drakes. Don't field them in any other configuration but Thunderhammer Storm Shield, and buy the Fire Drakes. What's wrong with you? Go buy them right now. Because they're that, like, they really did a good job with them, and especially because the Fire Drakes is still a thing in the Salamanders. That's the first company still. So, there's, like, I saw that and I went, well, if I was a Salamander player, that would be what I'm buying, regardless of pre- or post-heresy. But that was pretty cool.
No, right now, I'm really just waiting for if they get, when they start doing, I forget what I was thinking.
Something about the heresy, maybe?
When they get up to Prospero.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see everything that's left to be done, like in terms of Legion and unit and special formation wise. But yeah, Prospero would be kind of cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that myself.
But that should be really cool.
Yep. I know it's not really wargaming, but you know, people who own a PS4, I don't. I will eventually, just not now. If you pre-order Destiny, you can get into the beta or whatever before a certain time. I don't remember what the time is, but it's interesting because it's done by Bungie, and those people did Halo, right?
Yes.
And it's funny because this is a PlayStation exclusive by Bungie, and it looks to be pretty cool. It looks to be like it's basically kind of MMO-ish, but done in a way that specifically fits a console, which is good. Because what's that one that they just... Oh, not that they just released. It wasn't an MMO. But, like, wasn't City of Heroes put onto the consoles or something like that, or that Marvel one or whatever?
One of them was.
Yeah.
I don't I have no idea.
Me either. But I've always found that if you're gonna have a PC game that comes out PC first, like an MMO or a strategy or something like that, I've always found it kind of difficult. Even a first-person shooter, if it comes out PC first, can be kind of difficult to then transfer over to a console. And same thing for console to PC. Like, I played Assassin's Creed on the PC during a Steam thing, so I bought it because it was cheap. And the controls are okay, but you can tell the controls have been much smoother with the controller on a console.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. The fact that it looks like Destiny should be kind of cool because it's purpose-built for the console. So that'll be good. And I mean, it'll be interesting. It's a game that I would want to play, but I just want Darksiders 3. That's all I care about.
Supposedly, Darksiders 2 is getting an Xbox One and PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 release.
That's cool, and they did that also at Metro, the Metro Last Light series, and Metro's 2033. I believe they released those for PS4 and the Xbox One. I just feel it's kind of like, alright, I guess, for players who haven't played it yet, but unless they trade in their Xbox or the 360 or the PS3 and their games to get it, they could just boot up the old PS3, which is still more than capable of staying in your arsenal because, hey, at the very least, it now becomes your Blu-ray player, solely. Yeah. That can occasionally play some games that you may have. So, I always felt that I thought that was a bit odd. I mean, it's cool, but at the same time, it's like, how much more upscale can you make the game? Since it's already made. I'm not a programmer. I have no idea. But
some of the stuff that I have seen is kind of like seems like what they do is depending on the game. Like a good thing is let me try just give there's some games where they'll just put a filter on the game and the game will be HD. It'll look exactly the same, but it'll look slightly better. It'll look up-converted. Yeah. And then there's stuff like Zone of the Enders, where they actually went back and recreated the games in HD. Like, they went, okay, let's look at the original level. They have the original level in one game while another guy reprograms it as an HD game. So True. It really depends on how they do it. They could either just, okay, take the old game, put it in the computer, slap the HD filter on, and bam, HD. Or they can actually break down the game and reconstruct it. Oh, yeah. I mean, I just feel like something like Darksiders 2, if that's what's going to happen, I doubt they're going to reconstruct it. Yeah. I have no clue. It's just I don't see that as a reconstructing style of thing to do. But, hey, there's mud in your eye if you don't have one of those systems and you have the new ones. Maybe you get to play Darksiders 2. Although, it was I really enjoyed the series because I like how they blended, like it was heavily Zelda with other blended games in there. Mm-hmm. There needs to be more Zelda games that do it right. And I don't mean Zelda, because sometimes Zelda does it wrong. But it needs to be more Zelda Skyward games. Sword. Okay. I'm gonna reframe that. I liked the story complex. The story elements in Skyward Sword. I liked some of the concepts for the villains. I didn't like the game mechanics. Fair enough. I mean, that's the big thing. I feel it all depends on the game. Liking the characters involved, be them good or evil characters, whatever, is always important. But what I feel will make the game for more people is the way the game mechanics are set up. If the game mechanics, like for example, Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham City and all that, the game mechanics was so fluid that you felt like Batman. You were Batman. You were this bad mamma jamma, and nobody can touch you, and all you did was pressing a few buttons. But the gameplay for combat was so smooth that you felt awesome. It was easy to transition from exploration into combat without thinking about it. Yeah, and when you were in combat, it was easy to perform the crazy combos and the crazy takedowns and all the blocking and the dodging. Yep.
That made you feel, it felt cinematic. It didn't feel like cheesy, like lame to play. It made you feel good. It made you feel like, wow, I'm not just like, it's not a game where you're Batman the character, but you can't block a punch. You're like, you're Batman, you can do all this crazy stuff, and then you can go explore, then you go shoot your grappler up and then climb up a building mid-combat to get out of it right away with no questions asked.
It felt, there was never a moment where you're like, Batman would have been able to do this.
Exactly. Like, you felt like you were Batman. You were doing this.
Yeah.
You could do everything Batman could do in that situation, which was fantastic. And I'm not saying that the character concepts that they put in there and the way they redid certain characters was lame or anything, but it wasn't, like, earth-shattering. But the gameplay was so much fun that you come back to, like, I came back to the game several times. It's like, I'm going to explore over here some more and try to get the stuff, And, Killer Croc, yeah, he was a bit different. Bane was a bit different. But all that stuff. But
what's also good about it is that they're different enough where you can go, that's Batman Arkham Asylum.
Exactly. And at the same time, though, it wasn't like, man, I really dig their Joker. Because, like, it's the Joker. Yeah. It's, it's the Riddler. Yeah. That's them. But, and they're great characters, don't get me wrong. But what really sold that game, for me, it wasn't character development or characters. It was the way the gameplay worked. It was so fluid, and I'm not saying it was perfect, but it was fluid and well done. And when you have something like Skyward Sword, where it's doesn't feel fluid. Like, I think gameplay mechanics, when a game, you can play it fluidly and not really even think about the mechanics involved, and then you get a good job. Like, when you have a game and you go, okay, I got to line up the shot just perfectly, and it's going to clip this if I'm too far to the right, that kind of pulls you out of it a bit. But when you're able to just line up the shot and bam, you got it, without it being, like, auto-aimed for you, but in a quick enough succession, I think that's success.
Well, my biggest issue, I think, with that game was the fight mechanics weren't terrible. The biggest problem was the controller couldn't tell the difference between a wind-up and a slash. So if you, like, say if, there's a couple of enemies where they would be blocking a certain side of them, and if you hit that side, they would hit you. Now, sometimes you would not think, and you would naturally wind up. But when you wind up, like, say, to the right, the game would register that as you wind a slash to the right, which is right where he's been blocking, and you end up getting killed because the game thought you wanted to hit that side instead of, oh, no, I'm just winding up.
Right. And another good example of gameplay mechanics kind of taking out of the game and being annoying, as I know I've talked on this enough already, but Invisible War. Because, like...
What's going on? I think I deserve to know.
Like, what was that? You're making a lot of noise. I haven't moved yet. But anyway, like, you line up a headshot in this guy, and there's a pipe. And the crosshairs and stuff you're aiming clearly is on the guy's head. But when you shoot, it hits the pipe. That's bad. That's gameplay, and it's not that's just hitbox detection and all that, but that's gameplay mechanics going, I gotta aim lower, even though I'm nowhere near the pipe. Another big problem with that is a mechanic, it's coding, but it takes you out of the game, and that's my problem. Is I could take out of the game. My problems is there was a what do you call those things? Shelves. They were shelves, and on the shelf was a med kit, an energy cell, and some credits. So I'm like, okay, and I moved around the shelf. I was facing it head on, then I moved to the side. And the shelf is open. It's an open shelf, where you can reach at it from the front or the sides. But when you're on the side, you couldn't highlight the thing to interact to collect it. You only could collect it from head on. But you could see it. And it was just silly, and it was just something that completely, like, well, the game wasn't that immersive to begin with, but it's something that completely breaks the flow, and you go, really? I can't pick up this thing that I'm clearly looking at, that I was able to pick up when I was in front of it?
Yeah.
It's like, what?
It's also like some things that was, another mechanic like that was, I've been playing my games that I have on Steam in alphabetical order recently, with the exception of the walking simulators. Primarily because most of the walking simulators I have are horror games, and I take too long to play those, so I'm like, I'll just skip over those, and once I beat everything else, I'll go back and play the horror games.
What do you mean by walking simulator?
You've ever played Amnesia: The Dark Descent?
No.
It's, okay, an exploration game where there's nothing to do but pick up objects and move through the building. They're called walking simulators. Because you're really just walking around.
Yeah, but it really doesn't build up like, I want to buy this game. It's a walking simulator, you know? It's like, it doesn't really have a name that says, I want to buy that.
Well, that's what it is like, it's not always, it's never, that's just the name of it. Like, a good example is the Penumbra, or Amnesia, you could call a horror, thriller, puzzle-solving walking simulator. Right. Because the main mechanic in the game is walking around.
At that point, it sounds like a weird custom-built burger. It's like...
The custom-built burger.
You know, like the build your own burger places. It just sounds like a weird thing. That like, you're putting too much flavor on this thing. Calm down. It's like... You got bananas, peanut butter, pickles, jellies, carrots.
Oh, no one calls it a walking simulator. They just call it a first-person atmospheric horror.
For what?
For Amnesia. Okay, then forgive me, I'm getting my things mixed up. Walking simulators are where it's just you're walking around a room and you unravel a story through exploration.
Right, I know what you're talking about with that too.
Yeah.
And
there's the most popular one right now is called Gone Home. Where you come home from college and no one's in the house. And there's just a note saying, we'll be back later. Or no, there's just a note from, like, your sister. And you don't know what happened, you don't know where anybody is, and the whole premise of the game is to just walk around the house exploring items and just trying to unravel what happened when you were gone.
It'd be really funny if at the end of that, it's like, they went to Chili's. Damn.
My favorite restaurants.
And they went without me.
Those bastards.
That'd be really funny if one of those games had that type of ending.
and we went to Chili's. Yeah, it was tasty.
But, yeah.
And so now here's one question. Going back to Stormclaw for a little bit. Just because I've had this question, I just wonder, why is the Space Wolf character on a Terminator base when he's not in Terminator armor?
Dramatic.
Nor is he in any armor that would justify him being on a Terminator base.
The base does look pretty big.
It's like, and most people most comments that, like, the common consensus on the internet is it's a Terminator's base.
It looks bigger than the standard base for powered armor dudes because he's got his legs stretched and he's not touching the sides. But typically, when you look at 28mm bases as regular tactical Marines are on and whatnot, their feet are at the edges of where they're running. So it definitely has a bigger base. Maybe it's for his epic 80s hair metal pose. I don't know.
But I just like, what? They made him purposely not be able to go through certain areas because he's on a Terminator stand.
They did.
So for example, like a game of Zone Mortalis or something, even though there are no stands that are small enough for a Terminator stand not to go through, it's like, let's go through this hallway, and he's like, you guys go on ahead.
Go on without me. I can't make it.
I can't make it. Too tiny a space.
It's true. And also, I get it, he's in ruin armor, but when I first saw him with all the glowing ruins, like, so is this like a whatever they call the librarians? Ruin priest?
Ruin
like,
priest.
is this a ruin priest?
Those dudes who think they're not warp magic users when they are!
Yeah, but it's like, I originally thought, hey, is this a ruin priest? And then, like, I don't know, it says a wolf lord, and then I forgot, and I get it. But I thought it would be really cool to have a ruin priest in its place. I mean, I just feel like everything's a wolf lord except for that one special character in their codex. Why not and like the one and the chaplain thing, which is the wolf priest or whatever. But
yeah.
But you know, it was interesting. And when I first was looking at what he was holding, because the one picture like it's a double-headed axe, but the pose when you look at it head on, I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, it looks.
They had another picture, and then I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Now,
I didn't know what it was.
Now, speaking about this, if I'm correct, it was Phil Kelly, or was it Matt Ward that did the last codex?
What do you mean the last codex?
For Space Wolves.
Oh.
Because I think they're the next codex coming out. Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I've never really put anything.
But either way, back in the day, in the 5th ed and in the beginning of 6th ed, they were posting who wrote the codexes. So he's like, this codex written by Matt Ward, this one written by Phil Kelly, this one written by that person everyone hates because they supposedly ruined the Tyranids.
Which I didn't have a problem with the Tyranids.
People always say that everyone said the 5th and the 6th edition codex are terrible. I'm like, I can't beat them. I don't know why you people think they're bad. They wipe the floor with me. Granted, I'm not that good of a player, but it's never been like one of these. It's never been one of these where like the player on the other end is like, I can't believe you lost. This is kind of crappy. It's always a, holy crap, how do I beat them? And everyone coming up going, yeah, you're screwed.
Right.
It's never been a, come on, this is Tyranids, you should be wiping the floor with them.
But that's my point, is that I've played against them, I've lost, I've won, but I've never seen people have a problem with building a powerful list for them. I've never seen people having a real problem with the fluff per se. I've never seen people have a real problem in in anything with the codex, but yet people are like, this is a terrible codex, this is a travesty.
Or they keep going like, they got rid of the doom of my Myria, blah, 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 and then they go in a game, I'm like, I never once said you ever going, man, I wish I had the doom of my Myria because I could do this with it. You seem to not care. You seem to not be missing him when you're not
also,
playing.
Also, that doom thing, not everybody used it either. Yeah, that whatever. It's like, I can't believe they got rid of it. Well, it's Tyranids.
It was a model that people were upset about because it did a lot of stuff without you having to think about it.
Right, but it's
because it literally was just pop it here, and what happens? It kills things, and it was essentially easy mode.
Okay,
for them.
It was because I remember dealing with this thing. And I'm like, come on, but
yeah,
it's just I never really seen people have a problem with like the Tyranid stuff work. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, one thing I do miss is a pure gene stealer list. Especially, because people used to be able to do that. The Broodlord used to be so much scarier and whatnot, and do its thing.
Because I used to remember because I remember when I got into the game, I was like, the Gene Stealers aren't really that good. I mean, they're 6 up, they're toughness 3, they can't really get, I'd rather have Homogrons.
Yeah, like the Gene Stealers was like one of those lists, and it was always, like back two codices ago, it used to be a thing where they would have Gene Stealer lists and then people with their Deathwing lists, and it used to be like you were replaying Space Hulk with Deathwing versus Gene Stealers, and there used to be games that people would just love to watch because you have these two really specialized forces going against each other, and it's kind of sad that those are gone now. It's like I look at it like this. It's like, oh yeah, the Gene Stealers. But now we can make Hormigons and Termagons silly things. Like, guys, what about these Gene Stealers that we built up so big, Space Hulk, and, infecting the whole population of the world? Yeah, but Hormigons. It's like the Termagons, but Gene Stealers. Yeah.
But so my question is now, lately, GW has been hiding who writes the codexes. Do you think that was a smart move on their part?
Well, to be honest, I never really cared who wrote the codex. I never went, oh man, so-and-so is doing this codex is going to be an awesome codex, or so-and-so is doing this codex is going to be terrible. Like, I couldn't tell you, I'm holding it in my hand, I couldn't tell you who wrote the Dark Angels codex. I have no idea. I actually have it in my hand because I was trying to look it up, and I can't find it. So
it's in the front page.
Yeah, the front page, I don't see it. It just says the Dark Angels, the First Legion, the Unforgiven, the Sons of the Lion. Where are you? It's on Contents? There we go. It's Jeremy Vittok.
Yep, who was a fantasy writer. This was his first 40K codex.
See, Jeremy Vittok. I don't know if people were like, oh no, he's gonna turn them into dwarves, because he's a fantasy writer. It doesn't matter.
He's gonna turn them into dwarves. People would be happy then, because then they'd have squats.
Yeah, it's true. But it's just like, for me, it never really mattered who the writer was. And I always found it kind of weird with people, before we even had rumors to go on for special stuff that was being made new, it was like, honestly, use Phil Kelly. Phil Kelly is writing this book, gonna be terrible, unsubscribing. the book isn't even out yet. You can't judge it by the author. There have been authors who are good authors who have written terrible novels, but yet at the same time, there's authors who are up and coming who have some really good works out there. It's the same thing with the Codex, and you also have to remember, it's not like UW is going to go run amok with the Codex. They're gonna, keep them on a leash.
It is weird because, like, I know a lot of people are like, Matt Ward is terrible at fluff. I mean, everything has a stupid, cheesy name. And I was like, I can't think of a single cheesy name. And they're like, the Warden Staff. And I'm like, I don't even know what piece of war gear that is. I can't find this thing that you're claiming it is.
And also, what's so cheesy about Warden? And also, this is a science fiction with fantasy overtones game. The whole basis on a game like this is having really cheesy stuff sometimes. And
also also his name is Ward. Yes, that doesn't mean the Warden staff was named after him. If it's a staff that, has special anti-psyker stuff on it, yeah, it's a warding staff.
Exactly.
If it was your argument would be better if it was like the Warden Staff, the most powerful item. It allows you to blow up tanks with no problem. Then the name doesn't really make any sense. But it's like, what? And then there are people out there who are like, Phil Kelly makes the most terrible fluff, and I was like, that fluff in the last Eldar Codex was actually the part I liked.
I think Phil Kelly wrote the current Space Wolf Codex.
He wrote this current Space Wolf Codex?
I think so.
Because then one of the armies, ones that use staffs a lot, people were complaining because of the Warden Staff.
Well, the only thing I can think of is Grey Knights who have a warding staff.
Then that must have been it.
And the Grey Knights were written by Matthew Ward.
Yeah. But everyone always constantly talks about how he throws himself somewhere in the Codex. I'm like, it's just he has a name that just happens to be a good name for items.
Exactly. But it's just like if somebody's last name was like Sword. It's like,
yeah.
Oh great, he made a power sword. He's trying to put himself in the book.
It would be more of an argument for just because the first name I could think of is Phil Kelly. If we had the Kelly Bomb, then you can make the argument that he's trying to put himself in the Codex.
Yeah, I think.
But you can't get it for coincidental.
Yeah, and I think that maybe GW. Let's put it this way. When a codex is coming out, people are going to find out who the author is. It's not like it's going to be a huge secret. But as far as on their site and actively portraying it, I think it might be a good thing, especially if they got, I don't want to say up-and-coming writers, but let's say people who are transitioning from fantasy to 40K or vice versa. I think it helps limit the whole judge a book by its cover thing, It's like, it's more of a, okay, it's a Space Wolf Codex came out, I don't know who's writing it, so I can't have any preconceived judgments on it. I can't build it up to be something more than it is, and I can't push it down to be something less than it is. I gotta just take it and see it for myself.
I do agree. I feel that not knowing who the author is has reduced amount of the pre-release raging on the internets, which is a good thing because. Just say, for example, I'm a new and up-and-comer, you're a dude who's played for a while, and you start, and I'm like, oh, I'm thinking of taking up the Blood Angels, and then you start going, oh, the Blood Angels is being written by this guy's gonna blah, 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 and then I may not play the Blood Angels, and then that's just one new dude who just not got into the game.
Exactly, and it doesn't make sense to complain about an author. It really doesn't, because up until I own the Necron's Codex. I own the Grand. I pretty much own all the 5th edition codices and some of the 6th. I've read through them because one thing I enjoy is the fluff of 40K. So that's why I like getting the Codex. Plus pretty pictures. But hey, you can't never underestimate the power of awesome pictures and artwork. But so I read it, and when I was reading the Necron thing, I never felt that the Necrons were being done wrong or anything like that. People complained immensely about the Necron fluff and how it was a big retcon. And in the case of the Satan, yes. But it wasn't like, oh, this is terrible. I thought was pretty interesting. I like that we got more of a personality out of these things. So the big problem with the old Necron Codex, for the one that we currently have, is while the Necrons were cool, there was really nothing to get you into them.
They were very bland.
They were very bland. They only had like 3 unit types, and that was it. Now they have a personality to them, because remember, they're not like the Terminator. Okay, they're not T-800s built from the ground up. They were people.
Yep.
They have a culture and a heritage, and it's cool to see that, because especially in the previous codex before this one, they told you they were people, and then they became robots next. And now it's like building into it, and I thought that was really cool.
Talk about how like the HQs know who they are, and the troopers kind of don't. They like are where they used to live, but they kind of don't care.
Yeah, like the Immortals have more of a personality than Necron warriors, are just like
warriors. Yep. They're more Rubica than Rubrics.
Yeah, and it was cool, and some of the fluff in there, like one of the special characters has like this entombed in like glass thing, a big powered armored dude. It's like, is that a Primarch? Is that some type of really awesome space marine that he captured? Who knows? They don't tell you, but they build it up in enough of things to make you go, that's interesting. And
I like the new dude whose programming is broken, so he doesn't know that the orcs he's fighting are not the ancient tribal rivals he's fought like 2,000 years ago.
Yes, I like that about him, because it's not just that, it's everybody. He sees everybody as just a Necron. And it's like, they think painting themselves greens and yelling will change anything. It's fantastic.
And the one thing I really want, I want to know what his commander is thinking about this. Like, is he just sit there, like, slapping his head, going, ugh? Or is he just sitting there going, yes, sir? Or is he like Kif? Is he like the Kif of the Necrons?
This guy, if I remember, it's a duo. It's this guy as the Necron Lord, and then, like, Vargas something who is, like, his, like, bodyguard or whatever. Protector. Yeah. And he must be like, whatever you say, just let's win. I don't care.
It's like, I want to know what he's like. Is he like? I want to know if he's just like, you can call them light bright for all I care. Let's just kill them. Or is he very much like Kif, where he's just like, how can you be leading us? You're so dumb.
Well, aside from broken programming aside, he's brilliant. He doesn't understand that there are other races in the world, and it's really funny.
But I just like that, and I just really want to know what his dude thinks about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool to see that, and it builds these little quirks and personalities, which I like. I really like that guy because of the whole fluff. It's like, go fighting the orcs. Painting themselves green and yelling won't change the fact that we're going to win, or, like, it won't change the situation or whatever. Yeah. It's like, this is a weird tactic, but whatever. And it's just fantastic.
I also like the one Necron Lord who's a collector, and he thought the Inquisitor who sent that army of Imperial Guard to destroy him was a gift.
Yes, that was fantastic.
Like,
I love that guy.
I can't believe how generous you are. You gave me a whole legion. That is just... How generous of you.
And what I like about it, he's like those guys that are really anal about, new in box. He's like, some of them are a little frayed, there's a little bit of damage, but, it's okay. I know your heart was in the right place. I'll forgive you for not sending me pristine specimens. And here's this gift. Here's this ultimate prison thing that if you survive it, it's yours. Have fun. It's just
it's a shame you're probably not going to finish this letter by the time that entraps you.
Yeah, but it was just fantastic. He wrote a letter of thank you and included a gift bag. It was perfect.
It made them interesting, because before they were just like, so they're just robots.
Yeah. Not even in disguise. They're just robots.
Yeah, they're just robots. They shoot, and if you shoot enough of them, they fade out of existence in a puff of logic.
Yes, and that was a cool... In the fluff, that still happens. But it was a cool idea.
I'm just saying, that was just all they did was they came, they shot, they faded.
It was a cool idea, and one of the big things I'm so happy about this codex that's been out for years now is that they no longer have the phase-out. Because against every other army, you played for the mission, you played tactically, you played for what's going on. Against Necron, it's like, make them phase out, go! And it was pretty easy, so... I fought against this one guy. He had the Deceiver, and it was with my pre-Harry 2000 Sons, and the Deceiver was just chomping through my line. But I deep struck my Terminators right up to his big ball of Necron warriors that he was hiding in the back, and I rushed forward, and I blew up his Necron-specific units, and then I just obliterated his Necron warriors. And even though, like, the Deceiver chewed through half of my army, if not more, I won. Because it was like, gotta go. It's like, I love the stove on, gotta go, guys. And it was just like... And it's just like, all right, well, there's no...
Good job, guys.
Yeah, there was no, like, incentive to play the... not to play the game, but not to play the game in the way it's intended. It was more like, screw over the Necron player, go! Because if you didn't play for phase-out, it was a fun game. I purposely played for fun against this one Necron player before the Codex came out, where I intentionally didn't go phase-out. I went for the objectives. And it turned to a hard-fought, fun game. But at the same time, he didn't know I was doing that, so he hid his Necron warriors in the back corner, where I could have easily deep-struck down, obliterated them, and then he would have phased out. But that's not fun.
No. Like, that was, like, one of the things... like, when we used to play, I know, like, when me and the Stark and the Clown and all that used to play, they never really focused on the phase-out when I used to play Necrons. It was more playing the mission than anything.
The phase-out
except for that,
cheap.
It was a cheap way to win, because it's not like congratulations, you through skill and tactics you managed to defeat a really difficult opponent. Was congratulations, you rolled a lot of sixes.
Basically, I mean, to an extent, there is a tactful way to play that way, and a lot of Necron players play to avoid phase out, like with positioning and stuff. But it also really gimps them a bit because they're like, I gotta play to avoid phase out, forget the mission, and then like they're not really focusing on the mission. But it was a cheap way to do it. In tournaments, of course, I did it because it was like, all right, I'm gonna phase you out. But then of course
that's the way you play.
Yeah, but then Necron tournament lists were like balls of warriors, some immortals, and like 2 to 3 monoliths. And you're like, oh my god, I can't take down the monoliths.
Yeah.
Which I played against. Yeah.
Oh, you first.
I mean, back in the previous codex, and the monoliths were truly unkillable, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god, there's 3 of them. Oh my god.
That was one thing I was a little sad about with the new Necron Codex, was how much the monolith became meh.
Well, to be honest and to be fair, the monolith...
It was broken. Like, it needed to be tweaked, but I felt it kind of went a little downward from its original. A little too much.
They definitely made it a bit fairer. It's still very powerful and very hard to kill. It's still one of the hardest non-apocalypse vehicles to kill. Non-super heavies, let me put it that way, because the Imperial Knights are non-apocalypse. But it's definitely one of the hardest if not the hardest non-super heavy to kill still. The problem with it is not so much that they downgraded a little bit, it's just that they made all these really other cool stuff, and all they did with the monolith was make it slightly weaker. They didn't change anything necessarily to make it interesting anymore. And then you have, like, the Triarchs, and, like, the Flyers, and this thing, and that thing. That's really cool. And then there's the monolith. Good old reliable, but it's like, you know... But then,
Old Faithful.
Yeah, it's Old Faithful, but it's like... Get with the times, Grandpa. Feel the new vehicles, and the new vehicles were cool too, and they weren't broken necessarily. They were very strong, but they were nowhere near as unkillable. The monolith and it still is for Necron, this hulking behemoth of a slow-moving devastation thing that didn't get much to dress it up. And all these new vehicles came out. There was like, yeah, you know, I'll feel the monolith, but I'm also going to feel these things. There was no real. They didn't give any real incentive to go for the monolith over the other stuff.
Yeah.
Aside from you already have the model, field it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite models because it's so simple. Here's a pyramid. Play with it. Do stuff. But
I always liked how the monolith looked. It was probably one of my favorite looking models from the Necron army.
it definitely had an imposing force, an imposing viewpoint to it. No matter what army you were playing as against it, when a monolith hit the table, you were like, "That's a monolith. That's a problem." And you still think that way. It's like, "That's a monolith. That's a problem."
And I just liked how imposing it looked.
Yeah, I mean, it was this big hulking pyramid of death.
But I think now, I don't know if because it's been a while since I read the Codex, I think now it can't fire all its weapons anymore.
I don't remember if it can fire all of them.
Well, because it still counts as being stationary, but the new rules work as is, if it fires the ordnance weapon, it can only snap fire the gash arcs, which before it could fire the gash arcs and the particle whip.
I don't know.
A Lehman Russ.
Yeah,
but
I
now
don't know.
The Lehman Russ can't do that.
Yeah, well, the Lehman Russ, the poor Imperial Guard, the Lehman Russ was like it's their tank of choice. It's their tank because nothing else works. But it's really not. I don't want to say it's a bad tank, but it's really not as, oh my god, Lehman Russ on the table as it used to be. I'm saying back and forth edition.
The new Tech Priest rules do bring it back up to snuff. The problem is you need the Tech Priest.
Yeah, and even still, it's weird for me to say it's just a Lehman Russ, but it's just a Lehman Russ. I mean, like, it's a human piloting it or driving it, and the human gunners, and it's imposing, and it's pretty durable. But it definitely feels old school. You know what I mean? It feels like this was a vehicle that came out a long time ago in 40K's gameplay. Like, it has that old lumbering feel to it, where the Land Raider doesn't quite have that feel, because the Land Raider, let's face it, is a ridiculously overpowered vehicle.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm not saying it's broken, because it's a hefty point cost, so where it deserves to be as strong as it is. But it's pretty strong. Power of the machine spirit from the win. That's all I gotta say.
No.
But yeah.
Now, unfortunately, we're going to have to end this now because I'm apparently being called off.
All right. And we're going to end this with... What?
I do apologize for the suddenness, but apparently I got to get going.
So, yes. What do you think about the authors?
Do you think it was a good idea that they stopped telling you who wrote it, or do you think they should still tell you who wrote it?
Yeah, the meme or Mimi, what do you say?
Meme or Mimi, what do you say? What does the you say?
No.
And, what do you think of the new Storm Claw thingy?
Yes.
Bob? Because inquiring minds would like to know.
I guess so, yeah.
And was there anything else?
Not really. I mean, that was really it. The meme or Mimi thing. What's your take on Stormclaw? I think it's a good deal. And what's your thought on authors? Would you like to know who it was before you bought it so you can freak out earlier, or not worry about it later?
And why do you think kids like Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
I never liked Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oh, I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It's like my favorite. So, with that, thank you all for watching. And until next time, Fearless Gamers, this is Matt the Vet.
James the Wildcard.
Saying take care.
Peace.